What do you make of this, Drapes, from Campio? A's Pac-12 NBA championship. Sacramento's becoming big time.
Hey, from Campio's keyboard to reality, right? I'm all for it. Let's go.
How about this Sac State to the Mountain West?
Pac-12?
Pac-12? What do you think? Let's find out how likely that is. Nice enough to join us, senior college football analyst, Hero Sports and BetMGM, Sam Herder with us. Sam, thanks for your time. How about it? Pac-12 Sac State. Is that even possible, sir?
Well, originally when the Pac-12 committee came together, originally I thought, well, they're going to aim for the Pac-12, but most likely could end up in the Mountain West. But now with multiple Group of Five schools saying no to the Pac-12, potentially that does open the door up for Sac State to jump right to the Pac-12. But there's no doubt about that. Sac State is being aggressive in its push to join an FBS conference. Which one that will be, who knows? Will an invite even come? Who knows? The realignment wheels just keep on spinning, and you never know when news is going to break. But it's certainly been fascinating to follow.
Hey, how does the news of Gonzaga joining the Pac-12 impact Sacramento State, if any?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it does. It could, I guess, open the door for because obviously Gonzaga doesn't have a football program, so that could open the door for a university with a football program to potentially move in. You need eight full-time members, and so it might not have a direct impact on Sac State, but we know that the Pac-12 overall still needs to add what I think it's at least one more university with a full member with a football program. So that potentially could be Sac State. I just saw recently that Texas State isn't going to be joining the Mountain West. They had an offer out there, so maybe that could point to Texas State potentially joining the Pac-12. We'll see kind of where the dominoes fall from here.
Sam Herder is with us. He's a senior analyst with the Hero Sports and BetMGM, senior college football analyst. Sam, how do you think Sac State stacks up against some of the other schools that are looking to join the Pac-12 or the Mountain West?
Yeah, I think Sac State has a lot going for it compared to some other programs that are, I guess, in the running to join one of these conferences. I'm a little surprised that UC Davis hasn't gotten a little bit more love as far as being mentioned as a potential candidate or an expansion candidate for either the Pac-12 or the Mountain West. But I think just specifically with Sac State, you obviously have a great market. You have so much momentum behind them where conferences are looking at so many different things on the field and off the field. And with Sac State and, the facilities upgrades that are coming and then the NIL fundraising that they're doing, that makes them an attraction, I think, and certainly the location as well, just being located in California. If North Dakota State, if that program was located in California, they would already be FBS right now. Same thing with South Dakota State. Like, those are really good mid-major programs, really good football programs as well. Obviously, better football programs than Sac State. But, as we know, winning FCS national titles, that isn't as important as where you're located. And so I think that is one thing that Sac State has going for it. And it's successful on the football field, too. It might not be at NDSU or South Dakota State's level, but Sac State is routinely, in the playoffs. And so they do have that football success on their resume as well for the Hornets.
Sam, you brought up UC Davis. How come we aren't hearing more buzz with UC Davis? Are they not doing a good job promoting and marketing their efforts, or what's going on there, you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure because, originally when the Mountain West lost, originally the 4 members to the Pac-12 and, I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of people in the Dakotas and the Montanas are paying attention to this, and there's a lot of North Dakota State fans and South Dakota State fans and some Montana State fans that do want to join the Mountain West. But as you're out there, they might not look your way. They could be looking at Sac State's way and UC Davis's way, and the pushback was, well, we're better football programs than them. Like, why would they look to those programs? And it's revenue potential and resources and location and all that. And I thought UC Davis was going to be a prime candidate just with all of those things I mentioned. And even their athletic director kind of vaguely tweeted out pictures of concepts of a stadium expansion, like right when the Mountain West was losing some members. And so I don't think there was a coincidence there. I guess, maybe there hasn't been as much momentum as I originally thought. And maybe Sac State took some of that shine, pushing for the FBS over UC Davis. But I really haven't seen Davis mentioned as a potential target for the Pac-12, the Pac-12 or the Mountain West.
We're talking with Sam Herder, senior college football analyst for Hero Sports and BetMGM. Sam, what do we know, or what do we at least think we know in terms of what the Pac-12 is looking for in the schools that they want to add?
Yeah, I think, originally, earlier in this interview, I said that I was doubtful that Sac State would make that jump to the Pac-12. I figured it would be more so the Mountain West. And that was more so because the Pac-12 was kind of looking at the best of the rest, is what I've heard, quite a bit. They want, they obviously would like to be a power conference. That's not going to happen. But if they can become the best, whatever you want to call it, group of 5, group of 6 conference, and routinely get that out of it in college football playoff, I think that's what the Pac-12 was aiming for when they looked at whether it be schools, the top schools in the AAC, or they went back to UNLV, and those programs eventually, said no thanks for now. That's why I originally thought that there's no way that the Pac-12 is going to add FCS programs, because they're just going to try to add the best group of 5 programs. Now those options are getting more and more limited. And so do they go after Texas State? I'm sure, that is maybe their top target. But if Texas State wants to stay in the Sun Belt, then maybe they are down to a program like Sacramento State. I still think they prefer to add another group of 5 program, just because those letters, FBS versus FCS, still mean a lot. And, the Pac-12 adding an FCS member might be frowned upon by those university presidents, even though I would argue that, Sacramento State right now would beat UTEP in football, but just because they have that FCS label, that could kind of, stave off some interest from the Pac-12, or maybe it won't. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sam, why didn't UNLV make that jump? Why did they turn it down?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know I kind of read away, it seemed like UNLV and Nevada were tied at the hip. But then there were some other reports that kind of said that isn't the case. UNLV could make that move without Nevada if they wanted to. I just think right now the Pac-12 is in a tough spot, because it's kind of the chicken or the egg right now with them. They don't have a media deal going forward, and they can't really go to market until the TV partners know who they have for members. Yeah, but on the flip side, it's hard to attract, Memphis or Tulane when you don't know what your media evaluation is going to be. And so I think UNLV got thrown a lot of money at them by the Mountain West to stay, and they decided that was more stable rather than jumping into a Pac-12 conference where they don't know if the media deal is going to be $7 million a year, 8, 9, 10. They just don't know that. And so maybe they just felt it was more stable to stay with the Mountain West.
Yeah. So Sam, how big of a boost would it be for Sac State and the program and the school if they did end up in the Mountain West?
Yeah, I think, obviously the ultimate goal, it appears, is to join the Pac-12, but I think, even joining the Mountain West would be a huge boon to Sacramento State. And I've heard, I live in Minnesota. I'm more Midwest based, but I kind of cover things nationally across the FCS, obviously. And I've heard plenty of times when it comes to Sacramento State that if the Hornets ever make the FBS jump, a lot of local businesses and a lot of, whether it be boosters or just a really big alumni base, they're going to open up their wallets in their pockets a lot more if that FBS jump ever happens. And I think that is understandable because, FCS football is a big deal in the Dakotas and the Montanas, and even, for Idaho and, Furman and kind of in the Southeast as well. But when you're Sacramento State and you're playing Idaho State and Portland State and Weber State, that doesn't necessarily move the needle a whole lot for people in that community. But if all of a sudden you're playing Fresno State and San Jose State, all of a sudden that piques the interest of more people. And Sac State is already drawing a pretty good crowd. What they average, 14,000 people per home game. Those are good numbers for the FCS. They're not great numbers for the FBS, but FCS wise, they're good numbers. And so I think if Sac State is able to make that jump, just the overall interest in that community is going to rise. And we've already seen that. Just the idea that Sac State could make the FBS jump, they're already raising a lot of money just with the idea of making that FBS jump. And so it's been pretty wild to pay attention to from afar.
Yeah, Sam, I was going to ask you about the fundraising. They had wanted to raise $50 million in an NIL fund. I think they announced they were at 35. Just put that into context for me. Is $50 million enough to get it done? Is that enough to, raise some eyebrows? What do you think?
Well, I think even hitting 35 million has raised a lot of eyebrows, and I think that's such a large number that I've seen some people be skeptical of it because, I mean, not even some Big Ten programs can raise $35 million in NIL funds, let alone do it in 24 hours. And I don't know if those, what type of, what type of money that is as far as, guaranteed money or, potential money coming in if a jump happens or anything like that. But $35 million is a lot of money, and that's a pretty good, healthy NIL fund right there.
Sam, the Big Sky is one of the, if not the leading FCS conference when it definitely comes to football. They're either one or two, depending on who you ask. If Sac State does jump from that way, and maybe you see a UC Davis or, as you said, a Dakota or something of that nature, Idaho, of course, is in the top 10 right now. If Sac State jumps, what does that do to the Big Sky?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I believe Sac State is a football-only member in the Big Sky. I might be incorrect. Or UC Davis is a football-only member in the Big Sky. Sometimes it can be hard to keep track. It would hurt the Big Sky because Sac State has, routinely been maybe not the top team every year, but one of the top teams. I still think the core of the Big Sky is still the Montana schools and, Idaho as well and Eastern Washington. And so it's not like, the FCS is interesting because when the Pac-12 loses USC and UCLA, all of a sudden, you're on really shaky ground as a conference as a whole because all of a sudden your media deal, is kind of an influx and all that. That's not the case with the FCS. If you're an FCS conference and you lose your top two brands, you're still pretty stable. Like your media deal is not going to be threatened, which isn't going to threaten your athletic department. And so the Big Sky would be just fine if Sac State were to leave. It would hurt and weaken the conference for sure, just because you lose the top team like Sac State. But it's not necessarily a decimating thing.
Sam, to follow that up, we've seen all kind of money be thrown around. We've heard 10 to 15 million if a team jumps to the Mountain West. Who knows when it comes to the Pac-12, maybe 20, 30, upwards of 40 million, depending on their TV deal. What does the Big Sky produce for Sac State right now? Like, what is their contribution from the Big Sky when it comes to money and monetization?
Yeah, it's very, very small. I mean, it's peanuts. There really are no good FCS-wide conference deals. I think the Big Sky pays like $100,000 for their, media deal per school. So it is, adding a really, really small when it comes to FCS conference media deals. And so that's the thing with jumping up to the FBS. Your revenue potential grows quite a bit, whether it be in guaranteed pay games or whether it be media deals. But your expenses, also go up quite a bit with just the level of resources you need to put into your program. And so I know there are some FCS to FBS schools that have thrived because of that increase in revenue. I know there are others who are struggling to make their budget meet because there's an increase in revenue, but their overall athletic budget basically needs to go up $10 to $20 million, and you don't always get $10 to $20 million in extra revenue. So it kind of depends where you go. I think, the Mountain West TV deal is going to be decent. The new Pac-12 media deal is going to be decent, but it's not going to be lucrative. And so there's, like I said, there's a lot of revenue potential to be had when you go from the FCS to the FBS. But there's also a lot of expenses that also go up, and sometimes that doesn't always even out.
Sam, we're going to check in again soon to see what else you've heard. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Right. Sam Herder, senior college football analyst here at Sports Bet MGM. He's hearing a lot of things. Sounds like this has been a brewing for a while.
Yeah. And to his point, like, what's UC Davis doing right now? Mm-hmm. Like, how come they aren't getting in the mix with this? It seemed like they would be a logical choice. And Sac State, all in, man, 35 of the 50 million in that NIL fund has already been raised.
Yeah, if you've missed it, if you're interested in this, President Wood did an interesting interview today, president of Sac State, with the Jason Ross Show, featuring Carmichael Dave. So check that out on our website.
I could talk to you about girth.
Sure you would. Stick around, because speaking of girth, Drape's takes are next on Sactown Sports.
I didn't
October
ask.
is